Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Alberto Miranda, I'm from the University of León, and I'm going to present my work called the evaluation of the reliability index of IP addresses in reputation lists. So in the last decades, the internet traffic has increased as the cyber attacks. There are a wide variety of methods and tools for detecting and preventing cyber attacks, such as the reputation list, also known as blacklist. The reputation list are a set of IP addresses belonging to malicious networks and criminal activities that generally are used for the control of access to entity or to networks. The reputation list belongs to private or public entities which are in charge of maintaining, adding new IP addresses or removing it. There are currently more connectable devices than public IPs, so that's an issue because they use the reassignment techniques, and then it's quite hard to have the IPs in a blacklist, knowing if there is a malicious one or not. That's why, for example, an IP that belongs of attacker or whatever can be reassigned, for example, to an ordinary household and still be in a blacklist. So this research aims to validate the reliability of the IP addresses contained in a reputation list. So to achieve this goal, we propose a two-step system which maintains a highly reliable reputation list. Okay, so the main architecture of the system can be slide in different sections. First of all, the collection, processing, and normalization of the data, which I will talk later. Then the storage of all the data in a database. Then in another phase, the analysis and generation of the reports with all the statistics. And finally, the visualization of all the statistics and the data in Kibana. So in order to fit our system, we use some different data sources. The first one is the reputation list from public and private sources, from well-known entities such as CISIS, Cisco, National Cryptographic Center. Other data source is the Suricata, which is an intrusion detection system operating in CYL, which belongs to Universidad of León. And another data source is the machine learning models, which are also implemented in CYL. So in our analysis, mainly we create two important indexes. The first one is the evaluation index, which represents the reliability of each IP address. To calculate this index, we take into account the difference values like the count, the average of the severity, and if it appears in the IDS or in the models. The other important field that we generate is the active field, which it evaluates whether the IP address remains an active threat or not. So the results we obtain are in three different periods, which was 1 week of duration, each of them. We analyze around 60,000 IP addresses in each period. So in order to validate our system, we use the one public reputation list, which contains a reliability index, which we take to compare our evaluation index with the reliability ranges of this list. In the table number 1, it shows the overall results, where we can see the average evaluation index and the standard deviation in its different relativity ranges of the list. So if we compare all the data and the results obtained, we see a positive association. So we can see that we obtain a favorable results. So to summarize, blacklist of malicious IP addresses or reputation list are a great tool for different purposes, such as detection or mitigation of cyber attacks. But as long as we can validate or we can check if they are still attack an IP address. So this work has encountered some limitations that are mainly mitigable by improving the hardware or improving the hardware. And as a further work of this research is to design new metrics or improve the existing ones in order to have a greater accuracy with the IP addresses. So that's all, and thanks for listening to my presentation. Thanks.
Questions, please? Good. Then I have a question. How do you query all those lists, IP lists?
The public ones we take, or
yes,
the ones?
Ones.
We use Python, and then we scrap all the, yes, in this case, in the public ones.
There
with
are
the
no
public
APIs
ones.
for that?
What?
There are no APIs for that?
Which one? Which
APIs to query those lists?
Yes, they are public. They are, for example, Cisco has public ones, and then you download it, and then the other ones, the private ones, you require some credentials, but then you talk with the entity, and they give you credentials to download. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks you.
Any other questions, please? Okay then. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.